Hey, welcome back. This week, I'm going to walk you through a technique for animating over video in Procreate Dreams. This technique works great for making fun, festive animations like this one. So let's get started. For my file setup, I'm going to be using 4K social vertical format in 24 frames per second, which matches the size and frame rate of the video that I'll be importing. Lastly, I will use 4 seconds as the starting duration. Now I'm going to tap on the plus icon to add a video and we'll select my video. With the video now imported, I'm going to add 2 new tracks. Before we dive into the animation, let's take a moment to break it down. I'm planning on having the ghosts fly up out of the pumpkin buckets and then have them hold for a little bit in the position before flying out of frame. Since I'll be using the straight ahead animation approach, I'm going to create an animation guide to plan out the movement of the animation. To start out, in the top track, I'm going to enter flipbook mode, and I'll draw the first motion path using a color that pops and is different from what I will be using in my actual animation. Next, I will create tick marks to determine the timing and spacing of the animation. The areas of the line with the tick marks closer will move slower, while the areas that have larger gaps will be where the animation is the fastest. I will then draw the motion path for the second ghost, and this time I'm gonna make it curvy and I'll use less tick marks so the animation moves faster. Now I'll exit the flipbook mode and label the layer. Lastly, I will lower the opacity. In the next step, I will work on animating the basic ghost forms only. I will address details in a later step after I've gotten the foundation and the animation nailed down. This will prevent a lot of unnecessary reworks. To start out, I'm going to select a textured brush as I want to go for a more hand-drawn look. I want the ghost to not be fully opaque. I'd recommend going with the brush that fits your style. And in the first frame, I will draw the top of the ghost around the first tick mark. Next, I will tap on a new frame, and to help me better see the previous frame, I'm going to adjust the onion skin settings. I like to reduce previous frames to 1 and then increase the opacity. And to make it even easier to see, I will change the color so it pops better against the background, and that's much better. Now I'll tap out and start drawing the ghost moved up to the second tick mark. Then in a new frame, I will draw the ghost extended up around the third tick mark. Next, I'll draw the ghost now reaching the 4th tick mark, and I want to pause its movement so the viewer can see the ghost fully extended out before it flies out of frame. But first, I'm going to change the background color to black. This will help me see the ghost when I start drawing it flying out of the frame. Now, I'm going to return and redraw the fully extended ghost frame 2 times. Redrawing the frame 2 or more times is going to create some variation, which will make it look like I drew every frame of the ghost as it holds its position, where in reality it's just going to be 3 frames that I will duplicate over a couple of times. And with that done, now I'll start drawing the ghost flying off screen by drawing its position aligned to the next tick mark, and I'll repeat the process until the ghost reaches the top tick mark. Now I'll repeat the process with the second ghost. I want some space between the exit of the first and the entrance of the second ghost, so I'm drawing a couple frames behind the last drawing. And as you can see, for the second ghost, I'm drawing its shape curved along the motion path, which will give a unique movement from the first ghost. And once again, I will redraw the fully extended ghost frame twice. And like I did previously, I will draw the ghost moving up using the tick marks as a guide until it's almost completely out of frame. Now I'm going to exit drawing mode and extend the length of my frames, as I want the animation to have a more traditional look, and traditionally frames are at least 2 frames long when you're using 24 frames per second. So I'll select all the frames, and then I'm gonna zoom in, and with one finger held down on the timeline, I will extend the edge of a frame to 2 frames long. Next, I'm gonna select the 3 frame sequences, and I will extend them to 3 frames long, as I want the movement to be slower when it's just floating in place. Now I'm going to play back the animation to review how it's looking. Tip: it's important to make sure the basic animation looks good before adding details to help prevent you having to rework everything later. Now I'm ready to start adding in the holes for the eyes and mouth of the ghost. So I'll start by selecting the first extended ghost frame and entering the drawing mode. Next, I'll add a new layer so I'm not drawing over the ghost layer. Next, I'll change the color to black and begin drawing the eyes and mouth. Then I'll go to the next frame and add a new layer. I will also turn off the first layer so I can see the previous onion skin. And to help me see the facial features, I'm gonna go to the onion skin settings and change the color from yellow to none so the original frame will show up instead of a solid color. And now I will redraw the features. Once done, I will toggle back on that first ghost layer. And then I will go to the third frame, and once again, I will add a brand new layer, and I will turn off the ghost layer. And then I will redraw the eyes and mouth. And now I'll go to the next frame, and since part of the ghost has moved out of frame, I will only draw the mouth, since that will be the only part that will be visible. And now I'm gonna go back to the first frame before the ghost is fully extended. I'm gonna go in and draw the eyes and mouth, since the face should be present as the ghost moves up in place. And then I will go back one more frame, and this time just draw the eyes. Once done, I'm going to group the 3 frame sequence and duplicate it 3 times so there's a nice hold before it flies off. And now that the first ghost is done, I'm going to go and repeat this whole process with the second ghost animation. Once I have finished adding the details through the second animation, I will select all the frames and group it. Then I'll go and select all the frames for the first ghost animation and group them. Now I can go in and label each group. And since I know I want to have some space between the timing of animations, I'm gonna move the second ghost group later down in the timeline. I also want the first animation not to start immediately at the start of the video, so I'll also move the first group just a few frames back in the timeline. And with those updates done, I'm going to turn off the guide layer and play back the animation to review how everything is looking. The last step will be to apply layer mask so it looks like the ghosts are really coming out of the buckets. So while in the middle track, I'm going to move the playhead to the start of the first group and turn off its visibility. Now I'll change my brush to monoline, as I want to make sure the mask will be solid. I will also change the color so it's easy to see, and I will begin drawing around the area of the bucket. I'm drawing beyond the bucket area to make sure that no part of the ghost will be visible in this area. Once done, I will extend the frame so it matches the duration of the first group. And because the camera isn't stationary, I will need to keyframe the position of the mask so it aligns with the bucket throughout the video. So I'm going to add a keyframe at the start. Next, I'll apply the alpha mask and invert it so the ghost doesn't show up where the mask is. Now I'm going to move the playhead to the last frame that the ghost will still be in the bucket, and I'll add a new keyframe, and I'll just move the mask down to align with the top of the bucket. Next, I'm going to scrub back through the timeline to see where else I need to adjust the positioning, and I will create a new keyframe and reposition the mask. Once I'm satisfied, I will go over to the second animation group and repeat the process of creating a mask for the second pumpkin bucket, and using the keyframes to align its position with the movement of the video. And that's it. Now I have this fun ghost animation over a Halloween video. Animating over video is a super versatile technique, and I hope that you use it in your own future projects. Thanks for watching. Feel free to subscribe for more Procreate Dreams tutorials, and let me know in the comments what you'd like me to cover next. Bye for now.